Hi, BookTube. So I've read quite a bit of books since the last time I talked to you, and I skipped last week's wrap up. So I have a lot of books to show. I'm not gonna. I keep saying I want to do weekly wrap up, so I don't skip over books, but I'm just like putting aside the ones that were just like meh or I don't have much to say about them. So I'm just gonna talk about the ones that I enjoyed. Or that I thought were interesting. Sorry if there's any weird lighting, because I'm experiencing kind of like a weird day, I guess, in Portland because we got quite a bit of snow last night, and I'm kind of snowed in because I guess because there's not a lot of snow here that often, there isn't that many snow plows, and so the roads around here are not plowed at all. And but luckily I don't have to go anywhere, so I'm just gonna stay snowed in for this probably for the weekend. But yeah, that just gives me more reading time, and my pantry's all stocked up, and so I have no reason to go out except for Fable. She loves the cold weather. As soon as the temperature like goes below 30, she is all about it. She's waking me up in the middle of the night wanting to go out, and yeah, 2:30 yesterday last night. She was like, "Hey, do you know it's snowing?" I'm like, "Just give me a second here." But yeah, we went out first thing this morning, and yeah, I need to insert like some video clips. I need to get some video for that matter to put in some. But yeah, I'll get some while it lasts because we got quite a bit. It's like 5 or 6, 7 inches. I don't know, a bit enough to where like it's like with shoes on, it's like well above my ankle. So, and that's a lot for this area. Anyway, going back to books, I'm like Fable. I'm excited about the snow. And funny enough, the first book I have to share with you is called The Big Snow. This is by Berta and Elmer Hader. I'm not sure who illustrated it. They might have illustrated it. And again, with these picture books and things like that, comics, I need to see if there's like available, or just myself, like take some at least one picture of the art that's inside, but the cover gives a indication of the illustrations in the book. I think this might have won like maybe the Cal Doc, something like that prize for the illustrated children's books. I really want to get to that series, like the winners of that award after I do the Newbery winners and runner-ups, and I'm still slowly making my way through. If anyone's wondering, I'm still working on that. But yeah, with this one, it's just really nice. It's like when the geese are flying south for the winter, it starts with that, and it shows all the different animals here. And so you have there's deer and bunnies and cardinal. I love cardinals in the winter. They just like stand out against the white snow. So there is that one. And then I have Cowboys Are My Weakness by Pam Houston. I read a memoir by Pam Houston years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, when that book came out, and that was all about how she acquired her home in like far away from Denver, Colorado. She's like out in like the Rocky Mountain area, but it's like something like 3 or 4 hours drive to, like through the mountains where the airport is, because she also teaches in Davis, California, and so she flies like I think pretty regularly, and she's always talking about that really arduous drive that she has. So I remember that book stand out in my mind, but I hadn't read anything else by her after reading that one. I wish I could remember the name of that one, but for this one, what caught my eye was the author's name. I recognized because I read a book by her, and I thought since it's like February and I've already been focusing on romance books, that I would read something like Cowboys Are My Weakness, because there's quite a few cowboy tales in romance, or cowboys are like the male lead often. And so this one, it's kind of like a short story collection, but most of them are following the same character throughout the stories, and it's all about like the different kind of cowboys you can encounter, or really just men in general. And a lot of the cowboys aren't admirable when you get to know them through like each story is kind of like how she's dating a different guy, and just their personalities. Like at first, like you can like, oh, they're interesting, they're different, but then once she gets in a relationship with them, like, oh, actually, let's just back away because there's like drinking involved, or they're very argumentative or bossy and different things like that. So there are some, but the writing is very, very good. Yeah. So there's that one. Then like switching tones completely. I have The Babysitter's Club number 32. This is Christy and the Secret of Susan by Ann M. Martin. This is another series I'm slowly making my way through, and this one stuck out to me because and this is about how Christy, she gets a new babysitting job with Susan, who is like from the, yeah, because this is the Secret of Susan. She's a different child, like, and again, this was written, I don't know, was it 80s or something like that. So it's not like the current terms are used or anything like that. But it's basically about a severely autistic little girl who doesn't talk. I mean, she can like parrot back song lyrics, but that's it. And this like hit home to me in a way because for years and years I worked with severely autistic nonverbal children, and I actually like try to help teach them a little bit of sign language and teach the parents as well so that they can communicate. Because one of the biggest struggles that I faced with that whole education like system is that the children and the parents too, but the children would get frustrated. And this, what was stuck out in my mind reading this book is how often that, and maybe the author didn't even realize at the time, I don't know, how often that the parent kept having to reassure Christy that she's not violent. She's not violent. And because in my experience, and again, this is just my experience with the children I was working with, quite a few of them were violent just because they had so much frustration, I felt, and not being able to get across what they wanted to say, so they would strike out at anyone that's nearby. That they would throw things, whatever they could get their hands on, just to get that anger out. And so that, I don't know, kind of random, but that's what stuck out in my mind. But I really, it was a really rewarding job, and I did enjoy it. But yeah, anyway, so there's that one. Then I have Bright Lights, Prairie Dust, Reflections on Life, Loss, and Love from Little House's Ma by Karen Grassley. And I read this one for the Little House Readathon, and this is a autobiography memoir of Caroline. That's the her character in the Little House series. Karen's story, and this was kind of deceiving, I thought, because this is Bright Lights, Prairie Dust. Prairie is in the title here, but the Little House, her time on the Little House show was such a small part of the book, and I was expecting so much more detail on how how she got into the role, what she thought of it, like the people she was working with, the behind the scenes kind of the thing. I was expecting a lot more of that, but it wasn't. So much of it was about her struggles with growing up and becoming an actress and moving around and finding her place in life, and then her struggles with drug and alcohol and men and things like that. So I mean, it was interesting, but the title doesn't give it justice of what's going on. So yeah. Then I have Tanya Kappas, A Ghostly Undertaking. This is a ghostly Southern mystery, and I thought I would give this a try because I have been reading, I can't remember the name of her series or other series. It's really popular, probably her most popular series, I think, about like the RV camper cozy mystery series. All the covers have a different RV, and I really like that series, and so I thought, but they're really short, same with this one, they're really short books, you can just like fly right through them, and a lot of time I listen to them on audio, and they're like maybe 4 hours long, so like, I don't know, like 150 pages or so. So this one is totally different. It's like, because the cozy RV one doesn't have ghosts involved. It's all like, like real things can happen, whereas this one, the main character, I can't remember her name, she bumps her head, and then all of a sudden she can talk to dead people, and the first person that she can see, and not even talk to dead people she's actually like seeing them, is someone who died, I think was like falling down the staircase, but she's saying I didn't fall down, I was pushed down. And so now the sleuth here is trying to find who killed her, and so she's also like having help with her with having this ghost. So this is different. I probably will continue on with the series, but I do want to go back because I'm only on like book, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9, somewhere on there with an RV series, and there's like, I feel like over 20 at this point. I don't know. She just like, puts them out like candy. so yeah, I'll switch back to that one and then get back. This would be good for October, I think. And the cover says, "Rest in peace, Ruthie Sue Payne, born/murdered." So anyway, it's kind of funny. And then switching gears completely, I have Deep South by Paul Theroux with photographs by Steve McCurry. And this is a travel memoir of, and Paul Theroux, he has written so many books about all over the world, and I haven't read any of them. I started with this one because he was talking about how, at the beginning of the introduction, he was saying how he's traveled all over the world, he's written books all over the world, but about, places he's visited, but that he hasn't paid that much attention or concentration on the Deep South. And so he spent multiple trips through the Deep South, and particularly focusing on Alabama, Mississippi, the Mississippi Delta region. But he does go from he goes from his home in Massachusetts down. So he briefly mentions Virginia and North Carolina, but mainly focuses on that Deep South region. But this was really, really good. It got kind of repetitive sometimes because, again, he's making different tours throughout the year. So the time he's in the spring and the summer and so on, and you do meet people that he's interviewing at different times. And what I thought was funny is that sometimes he would pass these, and he also focused only on these really small towns. I'm sure he drove through the bigger cities, but hardly ever focused on them. But what was funny is when he was trying to interview these people, sometimes I said, "Oh, catch me next time." And one of the people he was interviewing, she was 95 at the time, and she was a fascinating character to read about. But she's like, okay, and he's like, really? She's gonna be 95, 96, but okay, maybe next year. And he was able to see her next time. But it was just so funny how I feel like the tone, not the tone, the kind of the vibe of the people, it's kind of it's a slower pace of life. You can see the difference. I feel like we're like, oh yeah, it's more leisurely, more I don't know, where I'll be here next time you come around, that kind of thing. So yeah, this was a nice read. I for sure want to read more of his books, but I thought I would focus on, we'll start with one of his books that actually can fully visualize the area he's going to. Then I have How to Be a Moonflower, a Field Guide by Katie Daisy. This is the only cover I could find that could show part of it. And again, I wish I could show you illustrations because there was a ton of illustrations on throughout this book. And this is all about exploring for example, flowers at night, or animals, or watching the different moon phases and stars and all that kind of stuff. And so it was really prettily drawn, and it really wanted to make me go tramping at night to see what I can find, because I walk with Fable every day around 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Not tonight, I don't think, because I'm just going to stay local because it's, again, very snowy. But, and sometimes we do come across coyotes, deer. We'll hear the coyotes yipping and howling at each other. And so sometimes I'll hear owls. I love hearing the owls. But yeah, it made me want to make a study of it and draw my own diagrams and things like that. So yeah, this was a nice read. And then I have Best Person Rural by Noel Perrin. And this is a collection of essays of a sometime farmer. I read First Person Rural, and I have it on my shelves somewhere over here. So I just wanted, instead of buying more of his books, I wanted to see, because I think I have first person, but I think it's second, third, fourth person. But this is a collection of all of those essays, just little, not snippets, but it gives you full short stories pulled from each of those books. And this is the only one my library had, unfortunately. I do still want to read the second, third, fourth one, but this, at least I read I think 2 or 3 or 4 of them from each collection. And this is about a man who is mostly focused on the 1970s, 1980s, and so it goes into the 90s as well when you get to the 4th book in the series. But about a small town Vermont farmer. I mean, not small town, small acre Vermont farmer. Even though he has 100 acres, but small scale, where he's not really doing it to produce mass amount of vegetables and meat and things like that. So this is it gives you, I feel like a glimpse, a little peek in the window of what it would be like to living in rural Vermont through the seasons, living on with the land and the people he's encountering. And so yeah, I really liked his writing. Then I have Miss Julia Delivers the Goods by Anne B. Ross. I love this series. I feel like I talk about every one of these because I like her voice. Julia and the people she knows, she's just like what she gets into and how her comment really hurts her commentary. I feel like how she reacts to things because she's kind of like a very staid Southern lady, and just the circumstances she gets herself into due to the people in this little small town and like the rumors and the gossip that flies. It just I think it's really charming and funny. But in this one, her this other woman she's living with uh, finds herself pregnant and doesn't want to face the fact and wants to keep it hidden from the small town. So she's like locked up in her room. So Julia's dealing with that, and then also with the handcuffs here, it's that her house, not her house, but her husband's house, like he's kept. He didn't sell it when he got married. Gets broken into, and so they're like trying to figure out why is his papers taken, because he's writing a book based on like interviews of some of these people. And so first she's gonna like interview these people who that was related to these papers and just find out what happened. So yeah, anyway, it was a really nice book. And then now getting to the physical books that I read, I'm not gonna go through the Little House on the Prairie series books because I feel like a lot of those don't need to be touched on because like most people know what that series is about. But I finished the whole series. I read, I think from this point on, I think for the 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 8th, compared to the last time I talked to you. But I thought I would share some of the like non-series related books. So let's see if I can put them in order here. So this one is Farmer Boy Goes West by Heather Williams. This is like a sequel to Farmer Boy, which is the second book in the Little House on the Prairie series. And this is all about Almanzo's time from how he goes from Malone, New York to the West, and gives you, and it's based on facts in real life and how they go to, what is the town? Spring Valley, Minnesota. And it's like, kind of like another like pioneering town where his family, is like institutional in getting it set up, and you get to see all of the people that were mentioned in Farmer Boy and get to know them better and see them as they're progressing on in their life. And it stops there. It doesn't go to where he's in South Dakota. You can read that in Little House on the Prairie because I think the fifth book is when that 5th or 6th book is when that starts. And so this is like the in-between book. But yeah, this is really nice, and it again shows his love of horses like Farmer Boy. And yeah, this is a nice book. And then I have, I'll just stick with the Wilder family, and then I have a Wilder in the West. It says, one woman's valiant account of homesteading alone on the prairies near Dakota Territory in the 1880s. The story of Eliza Jane Wilder of Little House on the Prairie renown. And this is edited by William Anderson. And this is all about Eliza Jane, which is the older sister of Almanzo, and she is also the teacher in Little House on the Prairie series, one of the teachers that is mentioned. And in those books, Laura is not a fan of her because she is very bossy and can't keep her classroom under control at all, and all the kids go rambunctious into like the people that are on like the council come in on the school board and see what's going on. So and it is actually mentioned this one too, how Almanzo thinks she is very bossy. So the introduction here is like tries to give her a way out on why she is like that, because this kind of gives you like a backstory of what else she has going on while she was teaching. She was trying to get her own farm up and running, and her acres of her homesteading land and her tree claim. And also she's like going back and forth to Spring Valley, Minnesota, because she's helping her elderly ailing family, or maybe was it the elderly family, or someone is sick. It might have been her parents or something like that. So yeah, and then it goes all the way through her later in life, like the 1900s, and like her children that, or how she goes from DeSmet in Minnesota to Louisiana. She marries later in life, and the husband has like either rice plantation or a rice farm in Louisiana. And so eventually the parents and some of the family in the Farmer Boy, Almanzo's family, they actually moved down there with her. So that was interesting to read about. So these two kind of went together. And then I have two other books. I have Old Town in the Green Groves by Cynthia Rylant. And this is the Iowa story. And so, let's see, it doesn't tell me how this slots in, so I can't exactly remember. But I think it's, I think it's either, I think it's after the Plum Creek. I think it's after Plum Creek. But, so in this one, she, this was also very different. And maybe that's why Laura Ingalls didn't include this story in her Little House on the Prairie series, because in this one, they aren't homesteading or farming or pioneering. They're going to an older town that's, been established, and they're helping run a hotel at first, and then they're living above a grocery store, and so it's like much more of like in the town, just trying to get by and find some money and, work and things like that. But she eventually, meets some friends, and there's cats on the cover here. But yeah, this was a nice story. It's really short. It was, let's see, 160 odd pages. So yeah, there's that one. And then the last book here is another like in-between story, and this is Mary Ingles on Her Own by Elizabeth Kimmel Willard. And this is about Mary's time going to the blind college, again, in Iowa, a lot like this one. And this one, they're going to Burr Oak, and I think, is it Vinton? Is the name? It's the Iowa College for the Blind. It doesn't say here, but I think it was something with a V. I think it was Vinton. But in the Little House for the Prairie series, it talks about how they were saving up money to, get her to be able to go to college, because Mary loves school and education and wanted to be a teacher before she became blind, and so now this is her way to continue her education. And so you get to see a glimpse into her life there, and there's not that much information from like Mary's own perspective, and so the author talks about how she's pulled her storyline, or some of the story, based on the documents they do have from the college. The college has quite a bit of information on how things were run, what the students would be doing, and what the school looked like. And so yeah, I thought that was fascinating. And you get to meet other people who are blind, and like how did they end up at this school, and like how are they dealing with this unexpected twist on life. And so yeah, this was really nice. It didn't end with her going back home and like her life, going forward as an adult. It just focused on her college life. But yeah, it's an interesting book to add to reading the Little House on the Prairie series, and I kind of fill in some blanks there. So those are some of the books that I've read. Like the books I haven't really talked about, I am still reading through the retro romance readathon books, and a lot of those I left out because most of them were just okay, unfortunately. I still have a couple left to read, and I have two left on my TBR here from the one I created back in the beginning of February. I have A Matter of Privilege, and I have I'm saving the best for last, Georgette Hare's Venetia. This one I think was compared to, what was it, Pride and Prejudice or something? I can't remember. But anyway, hoping that I'm going to end the retro romance readathon with a bang with this one. So yeah, let me know what you've been up to. I can't believe we're almost at the end of February here. It's going to be here before we know it. But yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, BookTube.